Okay, let's continue on to responsible on the far left. I think that's a soccer ball. I'm wondering what a soccer ball has to do with responsible, but we'll see. Ooh, pool party with Derek. The pool of Derek's condo complex was a perfect setting for a late morning outing. It was early enough that the day hadn't yet reached its hottest. The air still held the crispness of morning. Despite its pleasantness, only you and Derek were there. Of course, given the location of the ocean, maybe everyone else who felt like waterside fun was at the beach, you usually. Wait. Of course, given the location of the ocean, maybe everyone else who felt like waterside fun was at the beach, you usually were. Even though I'm not a beach person. The warm roughness of tiles felt odd on your bare feet as you walked further into the pool area. There was no sand to squish between your toes or sharp shells to avoid. You surveyed the area while Derek finished putting his stuff away on a chair. The chlorine was sharp in your senses, and the entire space was so orderly. Lounge chairs sat in neat rows, umbrellas spaced out uniformly. The depth of the pool was marked out in clear text along the sides. Every single element was intentionally and expertly crafted to be convenient for its human visitors. It was extremely different from the wild mistress of the sea. You liked the placid pools more. You liked the sandy beach with rolling waves more. You liked both the pool and the beach at the same time. You weren't a fan of either this pool or the beach. I'm not... I don't... It's not so much that I dislike pools or I dislike beaches. I just don't go out of my way to go to them. If I was trying to figure out what to do on a hot summer day, beach or pool would not be one of them. It would be playing video games in my air-conditioned house or binging on shows in an air-conditioned house, or see a movie in an air-conditioned theater. So I'll say you weren't a fan of either this pool or the beach. Large bodies of water just weren't comforting for you. You had come to hang out with Derek. Nice. But you weren't going to complain out loud. Derek himself was very excited to show you the pool. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm cool. If people invite me to come with them to the pool or invite me to go to the beach, we have a family reunion every year in Long Island, in New York, at the beach every summer, and I enjoy it. I love it, but I go there more for the people and not as much for the beach. But as long as other people that I really have a fun time hanging out with are also out in the water too, that's all that matters to me. This had been Derek's plan. He let you know about it ahead of time so you could be dressed for the occasion. You wore a one-piece swimsuit. You wore a two-piece swimsuit. You wore swim trunks. You wore a wetsuit. I got swim trunks. I don't own a wetsuit. And a t-shirt, shorts, t-shirt and shorts, a shawl cover up. You were comfortable in that. A t-shirt. If I go into the pool, I will remove my shirt. But if I'm just like lounging around at the pool, I'm good with a t-shirt and my trunks. A t-shirt. Your swimming gear was familiar even if the pool wasn't. You felt prepared. Oh, look at Derek. Derek bounded up to you in his own swim trunks, flagrantly ignoring the no running signs in his enthusiasm.
Okay.
Watch, I'm gonna do a cannonball. As soon as he knew he had your attention, he took off to the deep end of the pool. He built up speed and then leapt into the water. His curled up body created a huge splash on impact. You laughed, you applauded, you smiled, you gasped, you dashed away from the flying water, you cheered. I dashed away from the flying water. As soon as he had launched himself at the pool, you ducked and ran the opposite way. You were far enough in the first place to be mostly outside the splash zone, but you didn't trust that with how enthusiastic his cannonball was. He stayed under for a while longer. He touched the pool's bottom before he kicked himself back upward. When Derek's head popped out of the water, he swam to the edge of the pool and propped himself up with a grin. He watched you expectantly. You jumped in the pool. You walked over to the steps of the pool to get in. You sat on the edge and dipped your feet in. You plopped yourself on the nearest lounge chair. No, I would have at least sat on the edge and dipped my feet in. You settled yourself next to Derek, grimacing slightly. That's my default. If I came to the pool, I would get into it. I wouldn't just lounge in the lounge chairs or just simply dip my feet. I would get into it eventually, because I feel like it would be a waste for me to go to the pool and not actually get into the pool. But my default is to do this first. You settled yourself next to Derek, grimacing slightly at sitting on the damp concrete. Slowly, you lowered your toes down to the water. The pool was comfortably cool after a moment of adjustment, a very nice treat after walking on the tile. As you enjoyed the moment, your thoughts fell back at how you'd gotten here. Last night, Derek had called with a different sort of request. You remembered that his voice had a mix of nerves and hope. He had a favor to ask. Very unexpected for him. Derek's mom, normally he's the one offering a favor to people, not the other way around, so that is unexpected. Derek's mom needed him to watch his little brothers in the afternoon. It wasn't anything out of the ordinary, but that was part of his problem. Lately, he had feared that his sports skills weren't as sharp as he wanted them to be. He hadn't been able to practice soccer or football without the distraction of keeping an eye on his brothers. Are they going to make a reference that I told him to do soccer because it's hotter? His idea to fix this had been to ask for your help watching the kids. If you agreed to go to the park with him and his brothers, then you could manage his brothers while he had a chance to focus on practice. That's how he explained it. You said yes, and your moms had been more than happy to let you spend the day playing support for Derek. They said it would be a good opportunity to take on some more responsibility. To sweeten the deal, Derek suggested that you come by early so that you both could hit the pool. Nicholas would be sleeping in, and George could spend some one-on-one time with Mrs. Suarez. So far, the plan had worked out. Ma dropped you off about 15 minutes ago, and both of Derek's brothers were fully occupied. Mrs. Suarez and George were back in the condo putting together an 800-piece puzzle in the kitchen counter, while Nicholas snoozed on the couch. You had time to kick back before the moment came to be in charge of small children. And you'd been prepared for the visit in more ways than one, because the first thing you did when you arrived at Derek's house was put 3 wrinkled dollar bills in his hand. With that, your debt had been paid. A sloshing sound pulled you back to the present. Derek had climbed out of the pool. I'm gonna jump again. Wanna join? Yeah, let's go. No, I'm gonna sunbathe. I'd rather just watch. Nope, I wanna swim some laps. No, I'll go in. Yeah, let's go. You sprung to your feet and reversed away from the edge until it seemed like enough room. Poised to go, you and Derek made eye contact. He leaned forward, balancing on the balls of his feet.
No worries.
I've already done one. It's your turn. You did a belly flop. You backflipped into the pool. You offered your hand to Derek so he could jump in at the same time. You could jump in at the same time. You simply jumped in. You showed him your cannonball. You walked off the edge of the water. You cartwheeled into the pool. Where's the option to just walk gradually? I walk gradually into the pool because I have to let the coldness of the pool, like, equalize my body temperature. None of these things is accurate. I would not do any of these things. I would just kind of scoot myself in. I'll just offer your hand to Derek so you could jump at the same time. Oh. Derek accepted your hand eagerly, and you ran towards the pool together.
Whoa!
Woo! You leapt and flailed your legs for a split second. Derek lifted your arms in the air and kicked a foot out before you landed in the water. The other thing is, I would not actually jump in because I can't swim. So I would not actually be jumping into anything that was deep enough to let you safely jump in. But you know what? I'm just going to go with it. I didn't want to not go into the pool. I want to go into the shallow end of the pool, but that wasn't the choice. You stretched out and reached up towards the surface, parting your arms to paddle over to dry ground. Derek was laughing boisterously. It was his turn next. By the curve in his grin and the left of his chin, he looked to be in the mood to impress. His eyebrows drew together in deep furrow as he considered his launch. Derek took a few bounding steps to the edge, jumped up, and tucked his body in. Unlike his previous cannonball, the energy went into a spin, and he flipped, making a full rotation before he crashed to the surface. The water droplets from the splash dazzled you as they exploded out from his impact. He swam under the water and only came back to the surface after he reached the wall of the pool. He snaked his hands up to the top of the tiles and pushed himself up so that his hips were even with the edge. He twisted and practically rolled out of the pool from there. You're up. Okay. You did a belly flop, you backflipped to the pool, you offered your hand to Derek so you could jump at the same time, you simply jumped in, you cartwheeled, you walked off the edge into the water, you showed him your cannonball. I mean, I'll walk off the edge of the water. You kept your posture casual like you were going to go on a perfectly normal sedate stroll on perfectly solid surfaces. You know, over the edge and just like a cartoon character who noticed they no longer walked. Nah, that's not what I would have done. I'm just gonna simply jump in. It was nothing fancy, but the old good classic of pool jumps. You ran, pushed off the edge, and plunged into the water. You managed to splash Derek on the way down. Whoa! You kept switching back and forth, trading off between silly jumps and the more impressive tricks. Yeah, I would not be doing this at all. This is not what I'd be doing. Can I just like hang out in the pool? But that wasn't a choice here. The game assumes I can swim in the deep end, which is not the case. From watching Derek's well-practiced dives to performing your own jumps, there was never a boring second. After several leaps, Derek called a break time, and you took a breather at the back stairs to the pool. You waited for your strained heart rate to even out from all the exertion. After a pause of silence, Derek spoke up. He pulled his fist to his cheek in thought, squishing his face tightly.
So...
Hey, I probably should have asked before, but have you ever babysat somebody before? No, is that bad? No, but how hard could be watching a couple of kids be? Yeah, sometimes I babysit for one of my mom's friends. Does babysitting a dog count? I nodded. Ness. You shook your head. I kinda did. The true answer is I never did, only because the opportunity never arose, but I would have been totally open to do it. Because I'd like to think I was really good. I was very good with kids when I was in high school. Although I'm in middle school right now. So I'm just gonna say, yeah, sometimes I babysit for some of my mom's friends. That's cool. Having you on my team is gonna be amazing. When it's a 2-on-1 game, it's rough. You'll even the odds. Right. You really felt for him, given your own babysitting hurdles you'd had this summer. You were eager to take the job. You felt nervous about being in charge. You were curious to see how the experience would go. You were prepared for it to be a pain, but would do it anyway for Derek. You didn't know how to feel yet. I was eager to take on the job. You wanted to give Derek some assistance, and watching his brother sounded fun. I mean, by this point, I've done so many of the other moments already. If I had started with this one, I would have felt like I didn't know the brothers well enough. But since this is like one of the last of the moments that I did in order, I feel more confident. Because I feel like I've gotten that rapport with his brothers, so that hopefully would make babysitting a little easier. After that interlude, you both continued to enjoy yourselves and your freedom until a little beeping alarm went off. That's time! He made his way to the lounge chair with his stuff and dug out a small portable clock. It buzzed until he found the stop button. Derek checked the time and narrowed his eyes at the glowing red numbers. He shot you a thumbs up.
Let's go.
Let's go up. You helped him gather the towels, grab the rest of the stuff, and then tried to drip as little as possible while rushing through the halls of the complex. When you reached his apartment, he dumped everything in his arms on the ground and scrambled to find his key. Just give me a second. I don't want to knock on it or anything in case Nicholas is still asleep. He finally spied a soccer ball keychain and snatched up his keys from where they were tangled in his towel. He inserted the key into the lock, and both of you shuffled inside the Suarez home. 3 heads swiveled to face the two of you, gazes being drawn to the bundles of neon towels coming in. Mrs. Suarez and George were sitting on bar stools while Nicholas perched on the counter itself. With an excited grin, they were working on a puzzle. On your left, Derek leaned closer and spoke under his breath.
I figured.
He's awake. There we go again. Quick as a blink, Nicholas scrambled on his hands and feet and zipped across the black marble of the counter. Tiny cardboard puzzle pieces scattered.
Ah!
Nicholas, the puzzle! Despite George's frustration, the little whirlwind didn't seem to hear. He was on a mission to reach his bigger brother, not even stopping when he hit the end of the counter. Nicholas stumbled off the edge and Derek instinctively moved forward with a gasp, dropping all his pool stuff except for the towel wrapped around him. Mrs. Suarez caught Nicholas with her forearms, hooking under his chest, snatching him from midair. Oof. She hugged her son, holding him securely against her body. A chorus of relieved sighs filled the room. Nicholas still paid no mind to his trail of disasters and began to squirm. He just wanted down already. Derek took another few steps forward, making his way over to the scene. Mrs. Suarez carefully held Nicholas out, her hands under his armpits, and safely set him down on his feet. Nicholas immediately wrapped his arms around Derek's legs. Derek chuckled while tugging up at his towel so Nicholas wouldn't pull it off. Hold on, Nico, you're gonna get wet. Nicholas giggled mischievously and snuggled closer. Derek snuck a quick peek on his shoulder back at you and shrugged. Yeah. Me hating getting wet outside of taking a bath or taking a shower or going to the pool. I hate getting wet. So if you're wet, I would not hug you unless Unless I really, really, really liked you. Then I would hug you if you were wet. But even then I would still be like, ugh. Just as warned, Nicholas now had a damp splotch in his shirt. Nope. Nope, 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 nope. Hi everybody. You told Nicholas he'd worried you. You told George if his you asked George if his puzzle you asked George if his puzzle was alright. Nicholas, I'm here too, you know. You waited beside Derek quietly. I'll ask George. You asked George if his puzzle was alright. The counter was littered with pieces. I feel like I don't get to interact much with George. Like, I want to try to, like, set up a rapport. He is the middle child, like the second oldest next to Derek, so I would love to, like, be on his good side. Good investment for when we're older. The counter was littered with pieces. You could see that there were large sections of the puzzle put together and several scattered parts that had been broken back up into many individual pieces. Some had even been knocked to the floor, and you picked up a few up to hand to George. How's the puzzle? George stared at the pieces pinched between your fingers distantly before accepting them. He sighed over the mess. Yeah, it's all right. George nodded at you, appreciating that you had asked. He still seemed unhappy, but no major harm done. Well. Mrs. Suarez's tone was warm, with a certain amount of humor to it. She rubbed her hands together and stood up. Derek and Hark are in charge now. Make sure you listen to them. George sourly picked at the puzzle pieces, but gave a grumbled noise to signify he had heard. I'm going to head off to my appointment. She went to gather some things, officially putting you and Derek in charge. But there wasn't 1 second to settle into your new position. We're going swimming? Nicholas looked up and stared with huge shining eyes. Derek reflexively stiffened. How would he escape the puppy dog look? Derek's eyebrows creased, a small sign of nerves compared to the smooth, placating sound of his voice. No, even better. He leaned down and lowered his voice like he was about to share a secret.
I've got a plan.
We're gonna go to the park. Nicholas instantly frowned. He wasn't convinced by Derek's act. He grabbed Derek's towel. You were swimming. Yeah, but I'm not anymore. I'm going to the park, and you can come with me. No. The littlest Suarez whined and stomped his foot. His hands balled up around the neon fabric. Harshly enough, he almost took the towel from Derek. I want to go to the pool. I want to see Hark's swimsuit. What? Derek's jaw dropped. Neither of you were prepared for that one. Did you hear Nicholas right? You looked down at yourself, currently wrapped in a bright fuzzy towel. You switched your gaze to Derek's youngest brother, your brain trying to make sense of what was happening. I'm not following this either. Why would you want that? Why does Nicholas want anything? Yeah, I mean, sometimes little, 5 or 6 year olds, they just randomly ask for the darndest things without any rhyme or reason. George rolled his eyes and continued mumbling into the counter. It was obvious to him, and he couldn't believe the rest of you were taking so long to catch up. Because Derek does. What? Because Derek wants to see my swimsuit? Is that? What? What does that have to do with Nicholas now? You felt stunned. You couldn't help feeling amused. You suddenly felt extremely bashful. You only felt more confused. You didn't know what to feel about that. I couldn't help but feel amused. Derek narrowed his eyes and whispered harshly.
Seriously?
Nicholas, George, you're gonna put me in an early grave. Did they overhear that Derek wanted to see me in a swimsuit? That actually is kind of cute. He took a deep breath as he stared. I mean, let's be real here. If I was in middle school and I had a crush on somebody, heck yeah, I would also be pretty interested in seeing them in a swimsuit, not gonna lie. For sure. He took a deep breath as he stared at the ceiling. It took him a moment to face you. His voice was firm for someone at his level of embarrassment. I must have said something about hoping you'd remember to bring your swimsuit. I was excited for us to be able to swim, so I did want you to have one. Nicholas does not actually want to see you in a swimsuit. He doesn't even know why he'd want that. He's just saying stuff. Yeah, that does actually sound pretty accurate for 5 or 6 year olds. You snorted and had to cover your mouth to stop yourself from laughing. Derek shook his head, still blushing, but he relaxed at your obvious amusement. Little kids are so funny. You snuck another look at Nicholas. He had crossed his arms high in his chest and squished his neck down far enough to rest his chin on his wrist. I want to go swimming. I mean, at this point, if it were me, if I was, babysitting them, I was like, I mean, those aren't your choices, sorry. Your choice is either go to the park or stay here. like stay here stuck at home. I'd be like, yeah, swimming isn't one of the choices, but I am giving you a choice of 2 places. And, sometimes in life, you're not always going to get what you want, and you're just going to be given 2 lesser things, and at that point you kind of have to choose the lesser of the 2 evils here. His pout intensified when he said it again. He was a very angry little baby. Derek tilted back on his heels, once again driven to look at the ceiling by the strain of his kid. You glanced up there yourself without thinking about it. It was a calm white color with a few light fixtures. When you squinted, you noticed something small and green. It appeared to be one of those sticky hands for kids. Was this another present from the youngest Suarez? You turned back into Derek. He appeared to have made a decision. Alright, I promise you can go swimming too, but only after the park. Oh, Derek caved. He caved. I mean, he's the one in charge, so I'm just gonna support what he does, but I wouldn't cave. I as a parent of 2 kids, I'd like to say that I'm firm but fair. I'm firm but fair and consistent. That's the biggest thing, is consistent. So maybe this is a strategic time for him to cave. I'm not saying that you should be so strict and so stringent that you can't have some sort of negotiation at times, but that shouldn't be. You shouldn't do it. You have to kind of be strategic about when to negotiate and when not to negotiate. Sometimes you just have to sometimes kids have to realize that they ultimately don't really have a choice in the matter, and you kind of just have to do what they're told. And then other times, they might have a choice and they may have more freedom to do things. It depends on the situation. It really does. It really depends. So I'm hoping that Derek chose the right moment, the right time to pick his battle or pick his negotiation time. All right. Millennia at the park. We'll go to the pool as soon as we come back. With the promise officially made, Nicholas lit up. He snatched one of Derek's hands. Let's go! We gotta get to the park so I can swim. While Nicholas celebrated, Derek closed his eyes and some of the worried creases on his face smoothed out. Derek, there's lunch packed in the fridge. Dad will be back before dinner.
I gotcha.
Gotcha. Thanks, Mom.
Have a good one.
Have a good one. Mrs. Suarez waved and collected the last of her things, her purse off of the table. She ruffled George's hair on her way out. You and Derek were alone with the kids. We should really stop leaving puddles everywhere. He gestured at the drops of water pooling at his feet. You read my mind. Yeah, I would have an issue with that. Another reason why I do not like getting wet. You and Derek took turns changing. You went first, while you could faintly hear Derek impressing on his brothers to listen to you too. He must have convinced them to behave for now, as neither George nor Nicholas acted up when Derek took his turn drying off and clothing himself. Can you get our lunch from the fridge? I'm gonna pack my gear. No problem. You walked casually to the kitchen. George hadn't moved from his bar stool ever since you'd gotten back. Meanwhile, Nicholas followed Derek like a possessed shadow that was even more energetic than the original. He zipped around, occasionally trying to place things in Derek's backpack for him. So far, Derek had said no to the rubber duck, but he had agreed to bring an extra pair of socks that Nicholas had determined were absolutely necessary. Okay, got everything. Derek returned with a backpack in one hand and Nicholas' small hand in the other. We're going. George, ready, Hark? I was born ready. Sure. He pushed away from the counter and finally hopped off his chair with the enthusiasm of a plank of wood. We're going! Derek hid his smile at Nicholas's echo and ushered everyone outside. He locked the condo behind him and you began the trip to the nearby park. The park for the Suarez boys was the big park for your family. Their condo complex was only a short distance to the public outdoor recreational area your mom sometimes drove you to. This seems different from the one that we did the fireworks one, right? Or 4th of July one? It was still a beautiful day outside and had only gotten a few degrees warmer from your morning swim. The field was bustling with other groups of people enjoying themselves. Derek led the way to a wide open part of the grass that no one else was using. He stopped in the middle of the field and turned 180 degrees to face the little boys behind him. He shrugged his backpack off his shoulders and dropped it to the ground. He kneeled down to root around it. Beside it, George and Nicholas waited in place for their brother. Derek gathered a couple things in his arms before pushing off the ground with his knee to get up again. He held a football in his left hand and a soccer ball in his right. I cannot throw a football to save my life. Soccer for me, 100%. All right, Nicholas, George, I've got to practice, but you can too. Which one do you want?
Okay.
Football. Real ball. You raised an eyebrow at their shouts. Derek leaned over to you and whispered with a laugh. He means the soccer ball. It's because it's actually ball-shaped. Real ball. Is that a problem? They want both. Derek simply grinned. I thought so. He tossed George the football first. George caught it from out of the air with one hand and began to bounce it up and down in his fingers, feeling the weight of it. Yeah, I hope my husband is the one that's going to teach my son how to throw a football. And daughter, both of our kids, how to throw a football, because I definitely cannot for the life of me. Derek popped the soccer ball gently over to Nicholas, who watched his brother intently. Nicholas had to catch it with both hands. He wrapped his arms around the ball and hugged it to his chest. And with his brothers taken care of, Derek crouched again to reveal a third ball. He brought a second soccer ball. Derek had been prepared. I love how he chose. I'm wondering if that has anything to do with the fact that I told him that I wanted him to go for soccer. He then sprung back to his feet, another problem diverted. George, Nicholas, you can use this half of the field. I'll use that half. Hart can be your ref, so don't get too far from him, alright? Okay. George tossed his football in the air, preoccupied. It spun in an arc downward. Alright, I'm gonna practice. Nicholas embraced his soccer ball tighter, pressing his cheek into it. He wondered just how he'd practice with it when the equipment was about as big as his head. The child looked completely content with the world, but Derek's eyes narrowed. Once again, he shared some of Nicholas's info into your ear. Watch him. It's not over. He copies what I say, but it's not what he means. You snuck a peek at Nicholas. He appeared so innocent, clutching his ball and staring at a patch of clover in the grass, but you interact with him enough to not question his potential for trouble. See, that's the thing. They seem innocent, but you really have to be on your toes. Kids can be so manipulative, and I am like, no, like I am on to you. Especially because my youngest is my daughter. I'm not the kind of, I don't think I'm the kind of dad who has like Daddy's Little Princess, you know, who tends to have like her dad like wrapped around her little finger. It's like, no, I'm treating you the same way as I'm treating your brother. Sorry. If you wanted a parent that, you know, kind of sees you as his little princess, and in the sense that, you know, she's gonna get her way just by like batting her eyelashes at me, I'm like, no, manipulation. I am immune to your manipulation, my dear. Because even with my son, I think is also like one of the cutest, one of the most adorable kids there is. But puppy dog face doesn't work with me. Like if I like I said, I'm very consistent, very, very consistent. That tactic would not work on me. You snuck a peek at Nicholas. He appeared so innocent. Yeah. But I know. I'm on to them. I know. Gotta be on your toes. You'd make sure to keep an eye on the kid. Don't worry, I got this.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hart. You're a lifesaver. Derek held his soccer ball in both hands and cheered. Bye, bros. Bye. Bye, bro. Derek put on a smile as he picked up his bag, tucked his soccer ball under an arm, and jogged to the side of the field. He didn't have time to lose. You stood with the younger Suarez boys, effectively turned loose. George stared at you with uncertainty, while Nicholas's mischievous smirk could only make you guess what he was thinking. Yeah, that smirk. Gotta watch this one. You weren't going to make Mr. and Mrs. Suarez regret letting you come, and you especially weren't going to disappoint Derek. You were going to watch those boys. Time to be in charge. I'm gonna play over there. He pointed vaguely to the opposite side of the field from Derek and trotted off to entertain himself. You let go without argument. George wasn't the problem child. When you saw him settle in, throwing around his football and chasing it, you smiled. You would only need to manage Nicholas. You aimed your grin towards him, but instead of being in the clover patch, he was missing. You snapped your head back and forth until you spotted him in a fumbling dash across the grass, struggling to keep his soccer ball from slipping out of his small arms. Boy, do not make me take that ball from you. I will do it. Do not test me. I will do it. When Derek said watch him, he had really, really meant it. Well, you just have to push up your sleeves. He wasn't the first troublemaker you've ever had to deal with, and he wasn't going to be the last.